everything was running slow. That looks like it's all right. It says you are live. Right, won't be a second.
Yeah, go for it, mate. I forgot what I was doing now. What was I How we doing, guys and girls? Glad to be back. Oh, no way. Look at that. It's come straight up. Never in a million. Oh, what messaging? I can't see my end. If we've got anyone watching yet, say hi. Excuse me. There we go. Maz is watching. Hello, Maz. How are we doing? Long time no see. I'm still not seeing you, but not long now. I'm trying to think when the next goes. Like end of the month, isn't it? 2-3 weeks away. And I'll be back with a camera in my hand. Looking forward to it, actually. I haven't done a ghost hunt in a long time. I think it was last year, the last one, wasn't it? I'm very well, thank you, Mez. All refreshed and recharged after my break. And the weather's turned a bit nicer as well, which is nice. A few rays to charge the batteries.
Ooh, shut that door.
Shut what door?
Shut that door. All right, if you can, guys, please share the live. It's going to take a while to rebuild that algorithm back up again. So,
well, you say that, it comes straight up for me, mate. Never does that.
See if it will load up for me. Let's share that. Let's share that. Let's share it far and wide. Like it, comment. Hello, everybody. Mickey is back. Maz is there. Hope we are all good. Let's just give it a couple of minutes. So I won't tempt fate. And glad the show's on. Glad the shoes are on. I got my shoes on. Got my shoes on, Mickey. Right, let's do it. Oh, I've got to do it this way, haven't I? Because I've lost me mouse. Let's see if we're ready. Seems to be all right. It's now time for you to sit back in your chair and relax. Let your mind wander to the deepest, darkest parts of your brain. Let Ross take you on a journey to the unexplained. Good evening. We're back. We are back from outer space. The abduction is over. We have been returned to planet Earth. Somehow, hook or by crook. It's the 3rd of April, 2025. It's show 148. And where would I be without my wonderful co-host, Mr. Paranormal Paul?
Hello, good evening. How are you doing?
Well, yeah, we're all good. It's been, let's just say, it's been a long 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever you want to say it. It has been a bit of a treacherous struggle, but you know what? We're back.
Yeah.
Hiya, Maz is in the chat. Got Mickey in the chat. So welcome, one and all. If I could ask anyone that is watching to share the live, if you can. We haven't been on for a couple of weeks, so the algorithm is going to be very, very slow to send out and get to the notifications. Hence, I really do need air cap. Look how thin I'm getting on top. It's terrible, isn't it? You know, I don't like my camera right up there. That's the problem. I need to lower the camera, you know, so it's not looking at the top of my head. To be fair, it looks blue, doesn't it, this top?
Yeah. It is, isn't it?
Well, it is blue, but why is it gone all funny? My eyes, look, I've got eyes on my shoulder from the alien, but there's blue behind. See it?
Yeah.
It's weird. I'm not changing my top. Not tonight. They'll have to just grin and bear that. Yeah, let's just say it's been a long. Sorry, last week I wasn't too bad, but Paul, you went swanning off around the globe over to France in Disneyland Paris. How was that?
It was lovely. It was lovely.
Enjoy
really good. Good fun. Had by all.
Did you go on any rides?
Oh yeah. Pretty much all of them.
Are you a ride person? Not a ride person?
Yeah and no. I don't really like upside down rides, but I pretty much went on everything. The only thing I didn't do was Tower of Terror. That I don't like drops like that.
I can't do anything that turns. You know, like spinning. You know, like the teacups.
Yeah, no, the walks. Yeah, no, that does me. I can't do that. I don't think there's that many rides there that are like that. To be fair, yeah. But the roller coaster side of it, yeah, done them. Loved it, but at the same time hated it on a couple of them.
Yeah, I'm
white knuckle.
I'm not great with rides, to be fair. I do them, but the best time was when, well, going back, pre-COVID, when I was slightly bigger than I am now. I won't say but when I was like quite a big chap, and I'd say I've lost weight since then. I loved it because when you used to go, like, everyone goes, oh, let's go to, you know, Alton Towers or Thorpe Park for the day. Yeah, I'll join you. And the best one was when we used to get up to Nemesis and the thing never used to go over me. It's like, oh, let's see if it goes on. No, it don't fit me, mate. I'm too big. Let me get off. Fine. I'm not arguing with you. I am not arguing. Let me get off. And it was like, well, let's just see. No, it don't fit. Okay, mate, I'll get off. Don't worry about it. I'm really not bothered. Do you know what I mean? I'll go and watch everybody else go on the ride. And the one I really didn't want to go on was in Alton Towers. It was called Air. I think it was Air. And it went up like that and then went. So it come down. You stepped into it. The thing come across you. Then it kicked it back. So you was like Superman. Right, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to get on this. I'm really loving this. You know what I mean? All my mates are going, yeah, no, you'll just walk off. But I get in the thing, and the thing just clips straight down, didn't it? Oh, and I was absolutely mortified. Didn't even it went, you know, it went straight on. Blake went, yeah, you're in. I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm going to die, just like you. Where this thing went up, and obviously it went over, but you're now facing up. Then you come round, and then you went around, and oh well, you know, I didn't know if I wanted an absolute crap or haircut at that point.
Do you know what? I made a mistake. We found a pub with happy hour, and the first full day we was there, it rained a lot of an evening. It started about sort of 7, 8 o'clock, I think it was. No, it was a bit earlier than that. About 6 o'clock, it started raining. So we sort of stayed in the pub before. I ain't walking around in this. And let's just say I had one too many. But the next day, we thought, right, well, first ride of the day, we'll go on one. All the kids can get on, all the families, we'll all go on together. There was 8 of us in total. And we've done the old Buzz Lightyear ride, you know, where you got the laser gun and you're shooting the aliens and all that. Great fun. And as we come off of that, you got the Star Wars ride, Hyperspace Mountain. Never done it before. And it was a 5-minute queue. So it was like, come on, we'll go on that. Well, as amazing as it was when you're in there sort of looking around in space and you've got all the big galactic Star Destroyers and all that flying about, and you've got all these dog fights and that going on, and you're like that. But the actual ride itself, it just kept going and going. You shot off straight up the tunnel like that, about 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, and you're whizzing round, and then it sort of slows down. You're looking round, this is nice, and then it shoots off again. But the thing is, my nephew's first roller coaster, and he just passed the height restriction, and we had no idea what it was like because none of us had been on it. I think we ruined that boy's life for roller coasters for life because he came off there absolutely mortified.
Well,
I mean, it was too much for me. Poor little sod.
I'm just happy with Legoland. Let's just say that. I'm quite happy with Legoland, and that'll keep me going for the next couple of years. And I do plan. I want to go. Obviously, talk about Star Wars. Obviously on my bucket list is to get over to see, this Star Wars land in America. I think that is, one of my top priorities. Some point in my life, being a big Star Wars fan. So, all good on that one. So you've had a good week. I had 2 terrible weeks. We're not going to harp on about it, but I haven't been too well. The previous weeks, not feeling great. A lot of things going on, so I just generally couldn't do the show. I didn't want to do it or anything like that. I just did not have the capabilities of doing the show, especially the first week when we didn't do a show. There was no way I could have even lifted my head out of bed, I don't think, let alone even sort of get to a screen. But we're back. We're back. The lovely Heidi Hansen is watching as well. We are sort of on the mend. To be fair, I can safely say I don't think I've ever been as ill as I've ever felt. And after the last show, when did we do the show? What was the date of the show? The 6th of March. So the 7th of March was when I become ill, come home from work. So I can safely say I don't really remember anything from probably about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock that night. Late Sunday, early Monday morning was probably the sort of the things I can remember. I don't remember the paramedics being here. I have no recollection of that. Christina was here both days with Mum. I don't remember that. I've been to the doctor. Well, got taken to the emergency doctors. I don't remember that. I really don't. I have no recollection really of that whole weekend, of really what went on. So weird, strange feeling. It's like being abduction. It was like being abducted. I have no recollection of it at all. I know I was ill, and I didn't feel well. I remember at like 3 o'clock being sick everywhere. And I remember looking at the floor thinking, I don't know what to do. Hook by crook, I managed to dial Mum's number. She come over. And then the next thing I knew it, paramedics and all that were called in. I remember waking up Saturday morning, feeling my chest. And I thought I had a jumper on. And I thought, well, why have I got a button-up jumper? Couldn't work out why I've got a button-up jumper on. They were the things that were left from the paramedics, the sticky patches where they do like everything that tests you. Hallucinating, totally out of it. Wouldn't let people into the toilet apparently because the flies were going to get them. Wanted to go home. What was I calling home? I don't really know. I couldn't tell you what I was calling home. I knew I wasn't home, but I was home. And remember, Mum told me that all it was I was kept saying I had to draw money out for Grandad, because every Wednesday, like when Grandad was alive, I used to go and draw him £250. But what I was saying is Grandad's rung me today. I'd spoken to Grandad and I needed to get his money out. So, what went on, I couldn't tell you, mate. I really couldn't. For that weekend, Monday, obviously, I started to get sort of some form of was it consciousness or?
Yeah.
And then you sort of, even just like walking from one bit to the other, it was like, I can't do this. I seriously can't do it, you know. But you know what? I've been through it. I'm over it. Antibiotics. We're still, I'm still not 100%, but it is what it is, isn't it? You know, something like that takes it properly out of me, and that was it. You know, that's why the show was generally sort of put on hold for 2 weeks because of, I just did not feel well enough to do it. And then Paul give me, thank God, I actually say it, thank God Paul went on holiday the 3rd week because it gave me even an extra time just to get over everything. But we're here today. We're back. The blood tests that I had via, lucky enough, I did a blood test for my diabetes check, which, listen to this, right? They did a blood test for my diabetes, right? Did it. I rang up. Have you got my results back? No. Okay. But I did one. We haven't had them back yet. Next day, I get a doctor's call for these blood tests because that's what I was told to do by the paramedics to go and get a blood test. So that's what I did. Right? GP sorted that out. So they ring me the next day and say, your white blood cells are elevated. What does that mean in layman's terms? Whereas it shows sign of infection, normally would point towards septicemia, sepsis. Right, fine. Am I going to die? No, we're going to be all right. You've had antibiotics. You've seen my fine. But you've had my bloods back, yeah? Yes. How are the diabetic checks? Oh, they haven't come back yet. What? You can't make this crap up. So I said to her, I ain't having another one. I said, I can't, I'm not going to come and have another blood test. Sorry, I'm not. If you can't, if they can't be bothered to do I ain't being funny. They took enough blood out of me.
Yeah.
Like a vampire for a year. They knew what they were looking for. It's just stupid how it works. So you know what? I ain't gonna bother. As I said to the woman on the phone, well, if I die, I die, don't I? So it makes you feel, doesn't it? I'll just live now. Sod ya. I'll do me bits. If you're that worried about me, come and find me.
Yeah.
He ain't done anything. So
it's hard work, isn't it?
It is. It's hard just to be normal. Do you know what I mean? It's hard work just to get normal. Where are we in this world? When I was a kid, me and Paul are roughly the same age. There's give or take 2 years, 3 years between us. Probably. Doctors come out to you.
Yeah.
Doctors, I remember doctors coming out to you. If you couldn't get to the doctors, they would come and see you.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's fit and fighting fit. Back, fighting, yeah, fit. That's a strong word. Strong word to associate with a fatty. But yeah, no. Fit, loosely, yeah. Fighting, yeah. Back, yeah. But yeah, it's done and dusted. It's not like it used to be. How have I got to wait 3 weeks to get a doctor's appointment? 3 weeks. What's the point?
Crazy.
What is the point? That's more like it. That's the correct terminology, Matt. Back and fighting fat then. Yeah, exactly. But I totally within 2 weeks of fit is definitely a swear word, Mickey, 100%. Within the 2 weeks that I was ill, I lost 1 stone and 3 pounds.
That's it, ill.
And it wasn't, I can't say, I just did not have an appetite. Did not want to eat. There was nothing there that I could even contemplate. If you could have read me off all my favourite foods. No, don't want it. don't want it. It was forced. It got to a point of forcing food. Knowing I had to eat.
Yeah.
Was forcing food down. Like, I've got to eat. You know, Nan come down. Me Nan, 90 years of age, come down with the same sort of thing. She got through it. You know, fighter she is. She done better than what I did. You know, she was still doing her garden halfway through it. You know, she felt unwell. Don't get me wrong. She spent a couple of days in bed, which was, you know, not what my Nan would normally do, but she was a lot better than what I was. A lot better than what I was with it. You know, I was a week and a half in bed. She was like 3 days, and that's it. You know, if that. You know, there's always, I want to get in that garden. Well, no, you're not getting in that garden just for a minute. Let's get you better first.
Yeah.
But it was a horrible bug. Let's just say it was a viral infection of some form. But we are back. We are back, and we have got a show for you tonight. Well, I say we've got a show, but we have got a little bit of an important announcement to make. How the show going forward is going to be a bit of a change. Okay. Journey Through the Unexplained isn't disappearing. Okay, there will be a live feed on this channel every Thursday. Okay, but it is going to be different. Me and Paul are not going anywhere. Me and Paul are not going anywhere. But next week's show will be the return of the EGH Paranormal Talk Show, and we will have another co-host with Simon joining us. So it'll be alternate weeks, 1 week. So it'll start this week with Journey Through the Unexplained, where we're going to be doing conspiracies, anything that is, you know, that we want to talk about. Okay. And then next week will be the paranormal side of things, where we're going to have different conversations, you know, that isn't necessarily hard hitting and the conspiracy away from things. Do you know what I mean? Where me and Paul can, you know, then we might do an episode or a show about, you know, Ed and Lorraine Warren or the Enfield Poltergeist. When we do events, we'll have an event show, do you know, where we can talk about what happened that night. Paul's had some ideas that he's been running past us. You know, he's going to try and do some mini clips that we can actually drop into that show and people can watch, and we can discuss. So going forward, it's going to be 2 different shows running the same night, but every week there will be a show on this channel. Okay, so the EGH Paranormal Show will run through this channel. We will be live on this channel, but it'll just be called the EGH Paranormal Talk Show. Okay, it'll be a different branding just for everyone. Your branding will change. Somewhere will happen. Instead of that, will become in the corner above Paul's head, rather than that. And that will be it. And we will go to red instead of green. That is as simple as it gets. But we will be, and then Simon. So Simon next week will be joining us for the EGH, the first one back in a long time. Simon wants to do some shows. We can do whatever we choose to do, as long as, I say, we have to be a bit, what's the word? Careful. Now, with the EGH Paranormal Talk Show, we have over, 12,000 followers. And running a business through that, I can't afford to lose that. So, Journey Through the Unexplained, unless we know it's going to be a narrative that fits, we won't stream onto the Essex Ghost Hunters page. But Essex Ghost Hunters Paranormal Talk Show will always broadcast on Journey. Because, at the end of the day, we can always fight to get this back. So we will just play it by ear. What happens if we feel like we will, happy to put a broadcast together that we know what flat earth causes. Simple. There is nothing that we haven't talked about worse than flat earth. How that works, I have no idea. With slagged off Joe Biden. We've slagged off Keir Starmer. We've slagged off all the governments around the world. We've, said they're all fake. We've said that. We've never been taken off air for that. But we mentioned flat Earth, and we're going to talk about flat Earth. And guess what? We all disappear. Why?
Yeah.
No understanding. But yeah, going forward, there will always be a show on this channel, but not necessarily the Essex Ghost Hunters channel. But we will be broadcasting to every channel. I think we can do that. But that will be something that I will just double check with Paul and Simon in the first instance in the next coming weeks. Okay. I know the second week in Easter, the break, I think it's the 16th. So it'll be the 17th. There will be no show because I'm actually on holiday. So, but we'll get 2 shows in prior to then. So this week, obviously, we'll be on this channel. Next week, we'll also be on this channel, but on EGH as well. And me and Paul are not going anywhere. We're still going to be here, but 1 week we might have 3 people with Simon. Okay. And then, as I said to Simon last night, Simon's always welcome to join us on this show as well.
Yeah.
Simon's looking forward. Be nice to talk and discuss topics with you again. Well, to be fair, it also works the other way for us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's the idea of this. The idea of this is to give me and Paul a bit of a structure. And I know that, I say, Paul, you've listened to some of the EGH, and I remember you quite clearly saying, look, I wished I knew you was talking about that. I've done research into the Enfield thing. I know a lot about that. Simon's done the research. Clashing you 2 heads together over this, where I sit with it. So I know I'm going to be the outsider to it.
Yeah.
I know that it'll give us something to talk about. And going forward, I think it'll be a lot of fun. Simon was also, I don't know if Kim's watching. She might be hiding there because I do think that she will know what's coming if she is listening, is that Simon wants a few guests. I think I know what happened last night on the Ouija Brothers page. I think they would be quite good guests, so they would be someone worth talking to. But yeah, going forward, there's just going to be a few changes. We will always be live on this channel. You will always see us. If it's just got in that corner up there somewhere, I can't point to it.
It's there for me.
That's it. Above Paul, that is the only thing that should change. Okay. But we will be live. Okay. Just talking about different and trying to mix it up a little bit. All right. Not always hard hitting because it's quite, I will say it's very hard sometimes to sleep after this show when me and Paul have spoken, because things keep going over in my head. It's like, what we just spoke about. Why have we said that? Because, this is happening, that's happening. I get sometimes get very high in this chat, this chat. So to bring it back down to earth, boom, boom, it'll be good. But that's what's coming, guys. So next week will be the return of the EGH Paranormal Talk Show. It'll be on a Thursday from 8 o'clock, same times, 8 to 9:30. But we will be having Mr. Simon that will be joining us as well. And we'll just start off with an introduction to everything and get everything. We've got a couple of events that we can talk about and then go from there. Well, and we've got half hour into the show and we haven't really discussed anything apart from me being ill, you being on holiday, and where we're going with this show. But it's all exciting times anyway. All exciting times.
That's watch this space.
Watch this space. But let's start the chat. Let's start getting the topic going. First and foremost, guys, there's 8 of you watching. Anything that you want us to talk about? Have you got a question for us? What you've seen over the last few weeks? I know it's been quite frantic. I know there was big there was big things happening when I was ill and we should have been talking about, we've had the release of the JFK files that, Paul, you never looked into that, did you? Did you see the The
I haven't gone.
declassification.
Nah, do you know what? I've caught a couple of bits, but I haven't really looked into it at all. To be fair,
Well, simply, the file states that the
CIA.
CIA were quite convinced and quite sold on the fact that what was his name? Who shot him? Come on, in chat. Come on, guys.
Oh my god!
It's so obvious. It's not. It wants. What's the bloke? What's his name? Who shot JFK? Come on, winner to the first person. No, it's not John Wayne Bobbitt, is it?
No.
What's John Wayne Bobbitt? What is that? Is he the? That's a woman, isn't it? The cut of these. Come on. I know there's a delay.
Oh my god! I know this.
So do I. Oswald.
Harvey Oswald.
That's it. Oswald. That's it. The winner goes to there. Trump said we ain't ready for the full truth. But it's all us. It's the statement that there's a 174-page document, and the CIA confirmed that I think what everybody else knows, that Oswald never killed. He wasn't the original shooter.
Yeah, we
And-
think we pretty much knew that anyway. Well, I certainly had me suspicions about that one.
And I think the narrative that the CIA went down was it was accidental gunfire from the driver.
Yeah,
Which,
we've seen the video.
Yeah. His head goes backwards rather than forward from where which is sure sign that it come from forward, but accidental, or was it on purpose?
Accidentally on purpose. Well, he was trying to come away from was it the federal bank or something like that?
Well, it's no difference really what Donald Trump is doing, wasn't it? He was going to obviously declassify all the information on Area 51.
Yeah.
The UFO scene. He was very keen on, wasn't he? He was that sort of way where Donald Trump is going. What we hope he's going down that route. But, I don't think at the moment they're going to pin him off. I think they're going to let him do what he needs to do before we get any sort of sense and sensibility. But yeah, I say I only read part of the documents that were released. I follow a gentleman called David Young on Facebook, and he read all the documentation on it, and he was the one that sort of highlighted the fact that the CIA wasn't sold on the fact that Oswald shot. He wasn't the shooter, and actually there was two different directional gun shots at that point as well. So someone obviously shot, and then someone shot again, potentially. So many interesting theories with it as well. That did you ever hear about what's his wife's name? Was it Jacqueline? Was it his wife? Because he was a Catholic, they didn't want any. They needed everything to be in the coffin. Everything needed to be in the coffin. There was to be no post-mortem or anything like that to be done.
Because of his brain go missing or something, didn't it?
Yeah, his brain went missing.
As it does.
Why? That just that in itself baffles me. What? Why is it alive? Been linked to KGB and mafia. Absolutely. It is, to me, it's no different to what is going on with Trump. And I think Trump saying what he said about that is for his own benefit. I think he knows. I think he knows where his line could lead. Do you know what I mean? I know he's upsetting a lot of people, but he's not upsetting American people. That makes sense.
That man's got such a good poker face, hasn't he?
Yeah,
I mean, let's be honest. Once you reach that status of president, the information you must be um, eligible to receive, you know, and things you can look up. He must know some stuff, but he's just very. His face just don't give anything away, you know.
I think that I think one of these would be very apt with it at the moment. You know,
Yeah.
that,
See, I personally think it was their undoing. I don't think it was any outside. I think it was.
But I think it was because it was to shut
America.
obviously up what needed to happen. You know,
Mm.
he was a not a calmer version of Donald Trump.
Yeah, he was too much for the people.
Yeah, and he wanted all that. He wanted all that disclosure out, didn't he? And it's not one of the things that is there, is it? To be fair, it's disclosure can't. Oh, that's what I need. That is what we're going to be talking about. Sorry, we have to talk about it. We'll go, to Ding, yeah, because it was big. It was big. It was the day. It was the week that I'd become really ill. Like the week we should have spoke about it. I'm sure we did. Right, but yeah, that's just off topic. That's what's happened. Go and find out. Go and read the information yourself about. That's all I can really give you about JFK. Everything that I think the people knew, it's just been like, you know what? Whatever you thought, you're right.
Yeah.
It wasn't done by Oswald, and I'm assuming that there is people of Oswald's family that's still alive that are probably benefiting massively from what was left in his bank account or
100%.
left to people in his family for what he did. But other than that, that's all I can really tell you on that matter. It wasn't whatever it was. Now, okay, this is the big one. And I was thinking, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about? And what come out the last couple of weeks will obviously, if it is said to be true, it is going to change the direction of history massively. The pyramids. Now we've all heard of Simon. I'll come back to your question. All right, I will come back to your question. All right, on that one. But I want to talk about the pyramids because it's just popped into my head that there is obviously now a growing ground penetration radar from satellite. Now, bearing in mind, this is from satellite, has picked up that the pyramids go further below ground than we first believe. And we're not talking meters, feet. I think one of them suggested it was, a kilometre?
2 kilometers.
2 kilometers. So that's over a mile deep.
Yeah.
2 kilometers underground. And there is growing within what these pyramids actually did, what these pyramids were for. I don't know if we've got.
I mean, I think we've if you went back through our old shows, from what it sounds like, we pretty much had it sussed anyway, because we always said it was some kind of energy weapon or battery or that kind of thing, or free energy, the way they could harness the Earth's frequencies and things like that. But I have got to give you credit, Russ, because every time we spoke about the pyramids, you always said, I believe there's something else underneath it, like the heads on Easter Island. So I'll give you that one, mate. You was 100% right on that, by the looks of it.
But the more that I actually see it, right, and the more I don't quite know how they were designed. And I don't know what direction. Now, I'm trying to look for a video that I don't know if I sent to the group or.
Don't forget the digital video that they've released is just an interpretation at the moment, because they haven't actually fully released the whole, what would you call it? Not document, but sort of statement to do with what their findings are exactly.
Well, they've hid the statement. Like, in my eyes, they've hid the statement. They've dropped the nugget.
It was a whistleblower working on it, wasn't it? That sort of released part of it.
I'm going to play a video, which I think is the video that I want sort of to hear, because it sort of says, I'll play two videos because I'll then say of what one is what, because they're back to back and I don't know which one's what, but I know they're linked to this.
These findings allowed us to construct a 3D model of the entire complex. The examination of dozens of tomographical images obtained from different angles using Capella space and Umbra radars enabled a 3D reconstruction of most of the objects inside the pyramid of Khafre. Below, we present some images from our 3D analysis. The analysis of the structures above Belzoni's chamber are intensely colored spots which can be observed appearing in all tomographic images taken from different angles corresponding to the internal artificial structures. On the next page, it says that improvements of the signal to noise ratio, revealing the internal structure of the 5 set.
Sorry, that's not the one I want. That is not the one I want. There was one that was absolutely brilliant. It was absolutely fantastic.
This is a railgun. It can hit a
And why? Where's it gone?
target. What in the GTA 5 is going on here?
Where is it gone? That has really annoyed me.
Splat. Hey friends, breaking news, the Pyramid of Giza. You are not going to believe what they found, not only inside the Great Pyramids, but underneath the Great Pyramids. This discovery is going to change everything that we know about, well, everything. Check this out, guys. So in 2022, they used this new type of technology. It's called synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography, and it's something that they can use to look inside of things. And they use this kind of radar to make this like 3D model of the interior of things, and they can see stuff with this technology that you can't see any other way. And when they did this, they found some remarkable things that they didn't expect to find inside the pyramid, like these 5 new chambers that they didn't know existed before, and this unique sloping roof that they can't really explain. But when they redid this experiment a couple years later, that's when things got real crazy. So this is the pyramid, and this is underground. They found 8 of these gigantic columns that go down over a mile, guys, down into the ground. And you see these things that are wrapped around them? They think that these are actually staircases, pathways that go down, but they also act as like a coil that you would find on some sort of like an electromagnetic battery or something like that. And these things go down over a mile into the ground, and you're never going to believe what they go into. All 8 of them feed into these 2 gigantic cubes. These cubes are hundreds of feet wide and tall. Now, this is super significant because in the Emerald Tablets and all sorts of other ancient texts and books and things like that, they've talked about things underneath the Great Pyramid, like the halls of Amenti and the secret libraries of Atlantis and things like that. And now we're finding these gigantic columns that go down over a mile from the base of the pyramid into these gigantic cube rooms. So the official findings just came out a few days ago, and they say near the base of the pyramid, 5 identical structures are seen connected by geometric pathways. Inside each of these are 5 horizontal levels and a sloping roof. This is what's above. This is what's actually inside the the pyramid. Below these 5 structures are 8 cylindrical structures which appear to be vertical wells, hollow inside and surrounded by descending spiral pathways. These 8 vertically aligned cylindrical structures, arranged in 2 parallel rows from north to south, descend to a depth of 648 meters. That is so far down, where they all merge into 2 large cubic structures measuring approximately 80 meters per side. The entire structure extends approximately 2 kilometers beneath the surface. That's 1.2 miles, and extends beneath all 3 pyramids of the Giza Plateau complex. Holy cow, guys. So not only did they find 5 new structures inside the Great Pyramid that have never been discovered and explored before, but underneath the pyramid, going down over a mile, are 8 gigantic tubes surrounded by spiral staircases that feed into these 2 huge boxes. Now, what could these things do? Well, the paper goes on to hypothesize. The massive underground structure revealed by the recent SAR data shows what appear to be a mechanical or functional system, and this has been hypothesized in the past. Nikola Tesla believed that the pyramids could harness Earth's natural frequencies. This arguably inspired his experiments in wireless energy transmission scalar waves. In the Giza power plant, Christopher Dunn, this is a book, argued that the Great Pyramid was a power-generating machine using resonant and acoustic forces to convert mechanical stress into electricity. In the Giza Death Star, another book, Joseph Farrell proposed that the Great Pyramid of Giza was a weapon of mass destruction using a type of physics that he calls paleophysics to focus energy as a scalar weapon. Death Star. Now, I don't know what they're for, but all I know is with the whole Chris Bledsoe coming up Easter thing of next year, and the gaze of the Red Star Regulus and the Sphinx and the opening of the Atlantis, library, and all these things that have been prophesized, and now we're finding this. All I know is keep your eyes on these pyramids, baby, because things are getting really interesting. Let me know what you guys think about this. Have a beautiful day. Peace.
I just find it really interesting because we are getting now, evidence that these go lower, a lot lower than we've ever been told. Now, doing a little bit of research, and for the first time, I actually did a bit of research because I had a bit of time on my hands to sort of look into what they found in the Pyramid of Giza. Now, did you know they found copper hanging out the walls in the Pyramid of Giza?
They thought it was to anchor on carts, wasn't it, to go up and down, but they would never have used copper for something like that. Copper is a great conductor of electricity or current or whatever.
And now, how my brain works, right? Is how did these things exist without how they look now? And I've always said they remind me of Easter Island heads. There's something below, there's more below. But I don't believe that they would look like they look now 100,000 years ago, whatever you want to call it. I don't quite know the time frame of it. Now, there was one video, I wished I could find it, that said obviously there was a coating over the pyramids.
It was a smoother coating, wasn't it? We had something like quartz.
It was limestone, and it was dragged over 150 miles to get there. It was. I wish I could find that video.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I have seen it. Yeah, I'm sure it had essence of quartz crystals in it as well.
Yeah, which was a generator, wasn't it? Which is a generator of which can be used. Now, I don't think. I think the sand has been placed there to hide what was underneath. I think that before time that we could even imagine it, I think that these pyramids stood on posts, towers, and they were the tops. It was open. it was clear and open. You know, like a Roman Colosseum. Where you see the posts come up the front with the hole in the pyramid. Some way, shape, or form, I feel that they were the tops of them pyramids were held suspended in the air with like a village or a town or a city that would work around them. And that's what I think we see the coils, like you said. I think there is a free energy. I think electric was there at the time. I think, you know, for all intents and purposes, they probably had mobile phones. They could have had Wi-Fi, internet, you name it. It almost seems like what we are being told about the pyramids. And don't get me wrong, the Egyptians could have quite easily overtaken the use of the pyramids. Tutankhamun could have quite easily bought the pyramids and used it for his burial, and that's how it, you know, not the prophecy, but you know how that began. Do you know what I'm saying? How we see that now. But I think these things were just like Nikola Tesla said. I think they were giving us free energy, no different to the electrical posts that we see now.
The 5G type thing, yeah.
Do you know the theory about the electrical masts? You know, the power masts that you see everywhere.
I don't know what theory you're on about.
Huh?
Oh yeah. They're just harness the energy from the ether.
For everybody who's watching, even new. So the electrical mast. If you look at most electrical masts, what are they? Pylons. Electrical pylons. If you look at most maps, there's a map that you can just go online and look at the electrical maps. Now, most of them just go in one big circle. The wires come up from the substation. They go into the first pylon. They go out miles, a big circle, and they actually come back to where they started, which doesn't make no sense. The power, is they're saying, needs to get to the house. Now, Nikola Tesla found that, I think it was from 20 feet in the air, 20 foot in the air, that there is a electrical wave that you can harness. At 40 foot, it's a little bit more. Yeah. And at 60 foot, it's at its capacity. Now, if you look at the electrical mast, there's three rungs on them. 20 foot, 40 foot, 60 foot, roughly. Maybe a bit more looking at Tesla's maths. Now, the theory that goes is that we're paying for electric that the electric companies are getting for absolute nothing. And I do believe there is a gentleman in the States that is actually got his house with electrical poles in the air, and he is feeding his own home with free electric, not paying for it, because he's found the right frequencies for where to put them and how to do it. Now, I think these pyramids are also along that sort of line here. I really do. But then it goes along the lines of, well, what would they be using electric for back then? Exactly that. So, you know, when we talk about the one big reset, you know, and, you know, where it all changed and, you know, these people come in, I don't think it does. I don't think that we get a evolution like we're being told. I have no
way.
I think what we're taught in history, you know, where, you know, don't get me wrong, we got Edison that invented the light bulb and things like that. Did he invent the light bulb? No, I don't think the light bulb's been around 1,000 years before him. He just come up with it again and found out how to do it.
Well, it turns out he didn't anyway. He just ripped it off of someone else's design. Other people had got so far with it, but because he had the backing and he was quite famous in what he'd done, he basically took the credit for it. History
Exactly that.
books, history's written.
Exactly. You know, Thomas Bell. Is it Thomas Bell? Telephone? Was it Thomas Bell? Was it Thomas Bell?
Alexander
Telephone.
Graham Bell, wasn't it? Or,
Yeah, Alexander Bell. So all these people, and then we had Nikola Tesla. Now, Nikola Tesla was obviously he was killed by these people because he was, what do you call it, finding or using all this free energy, that people don't need to pay for.
we've said it before us when we talk about the pyramids and Nikola Tesla. He spent his life studying the pyramids, and that's how he came up with the idea of you can move electricity and frequency from one place to another without a connecting wire, by studying the pyramids.
Well, it's actually happening in front of our eyes, really, again, isn't it?
Mm.
Wireless charging.
Yeah.
Where's that come from all of a sudden? Wireless charging, that confuses me as well. It's like, well, hang on a minute, we've had wires all this time, and now we're not. Do you know what I mean?
And that's just with a simple little base unit, Russ. Can you imagine what's you can achieve and what's capable if you got that so much bigger? I never thought of the pyramids like that though, Russ, with the pillars being above ground. For some reason, that didn't even enter my head. That's quite an interesting thought. That to me makes more sense with the spiral staircase, if they're staircases. I know it's used as they're saying it's a coil system, but
that's my theory on it. That I think they stood, I know, sort of Canary Wharf. It's got a pyramid on top of Canary Wharf.
Yeah.
That is what I sort of see, but on a grander scale and more, stone and concrete, and how they keep.
No, I totally get it. Yeah, but then you mentioned about the pyramids being tombs. From the research that we've done previously, I'm pretty sure that not a single body was ever recovered from any of the pyramids.
There's doorways, isn't there, that they can't even get into, and
they was never actually used as tombs. That was just, again, it kind of throws the whole with these so-called experts that say, "Oh yeah, slaves built them," and that no one knew that for sure. It was just a theory. No one's ever been able to give an actual answer of how the pyramids are built. Even when they studied the hieroglyphics in them, they've got all these different things showing what was done. The only thing that's never shown in all the hieroglyphics was how they were built. It's just a theory. And that just blows all that right out of the park in my eyes. You ain't going to get slaves 2-mile columns and.
But then it goes again. Then it goes sort of with another theory of reptilian nation, underground cities. So perhaps these pyramids are still doing what they are doing, but for an underground city. There could be something physically still living underneath that's using that energy, using that,
Or because, when you think of the grand size of these things, they mentioned in that video a Death Star. I'm not saying it's a weapon as such, but if you're using that technology of moving electricity or a signal or a frequency, to me that could be a kind of Stargate or a communication device from one planet to another. Can you imagine the size of the pyramids? That is just a direct signal to wherever it's pointing. Well, it's Orion's belt, isn't it? It's designed. Wasn't it designed to match Orion's belt?
Something like that. something like that along them lines.
What if it's a communication device from one
But
place
I
to
can
another?
see it being, you know, Mickey's going biblical angels. I don't quite. What was that? What built by? Sorry, I'm lost there, Mickey. Sorry, the chat gets delayed sometimes from what we talk about. We go on to a different subject or a different point. So yeah, just let us know in what terms we were talking about there, Mickey, and we'll go back on that because that sounds interesting. That sounds interesting, that bit. But what's to say that it isn't, you know, the Earth, the world's defense mechanism? You know, what's to say that isn't, you know, we use the Death Star. It's a point. The Death Star fires a point. It's a triangular motion that comes out of that and out and into it.
And there's 3 of them, the 3 lasers going into one.
Yeah. What's to say that isn't, you know, I know it's far-fetched and we can't prove it, but what is to say that isn't some form, you know, let's be sensible here, that these world leaders or so-called world leaders are fully aware, or the deep state, whatever you want to call them, are fully aware that there is other people, other creatures or other extraterrestrials or other beings out there that will want to harm us. So what's to say that isn't a defense? You know, God forbid if we ever have to use it, and that's not what I'm saying, but that could fire and we would never know about it until the last minute, you know, and it would change everything. Pyramids are not what we are led to believe. These things are so important, and I think it is one of the biggest me personally think it's the only thing left that can be traced to our history, true history.
Yeah, but no one knows when they were actually built, because even the Egyptians were studying the pyramids.
Yeah.
It's...
So I'm just going to read something out that Mickey sent, okay? Because I have got a another theory as well. In the Bible, Jesus. In the Bible, Jesus tells us. Stop! I can't even say the word. In the Bible, Jesus tells when he gets crucified and dies for 3 days before his resurrection, that he goes into the middle of the earth ether. Them 3 days. I believe, just in my view, that there is much, much below us that we can't even comprehend. And that's where my brain goes at the moment. No, don't be, it's fine. It's not. I just said the word wrong for some strange reason.
I think it's Middle Earth.
Middle Earth. Middle Earth.
3 days. Right. I believe, just in my view, that there is much, much below us that we can't even comprehend.
Right.
Well, they reckon, don't they? Like, you know, I always say that they're always telling us what's actually happening in films. And what one was it? The Godzilla versus Kong film, when they go into Middle Earth, and it is basically a whole. It's like a prehistoric land. It's got the oceans. It's got the plant life.
No, that was
and the sky above.
Oh yeah, I know the one you're talking about. What film now?
Yeah, and that's been, well, even Admiral Byrd, when he apparently travelled over Atlantis, went through the tunnel, through the ice into a Middle Earth.
Yeah, I truly believe that now. Someone's whistling. Did you just have a whistle?
No.
Someone just whistled. Got no lights on outside. Nothing's been censored off. That was weird. There's a proper whistle. Proper whistle. But no, I'm totally with you that and Mickey there. it's like the moon in my eyes. You know,
Yeah.
there's much more in that moon than we ever want to. In that 3-day gap of him dying and being resurrected, he states he goes into Middle Earth.
Ah. I didn't know that.
So, but then it makes sense though, doesn't it? You know, I've always said, you know, I know Mickey's really good on his biblical sense, and he can read the Bible, and he's got a good way of putting it across. My belief. I don't necessarily follow the biblical sense of things, but I do believe that the Bible does drop hints, and when we talk about the Nephilim, and when we talk about the giants that walked the earth, and the anarchy and the things like that, where are these? Are these in this Middle Earth? When we talk about, and I know it sounds silly, and I can put this to it, but we look at Bigfoot. Where does Bigfoot go? Bigfoot, when they see him, it just disappears.
Yeah.
Bigfoot just goes. People see these creatures running through the forest, and all of a sudden they just disappear. They don't hide they don't hide behind a tree. They don't hide behind a log. They're obviously going. They've either got some form of portal jump or some form of device that that can just get down, or they know in these places that there is a drop that they can just drop into that gets straight down into this Middle Earth. And I do generally oh well, something is happening. Something is definitely happening. I have to record this because that is weird.
Fill us in.
100%. 100%. This is proper. Evening, whoever it is. Stop.
It isn't your friend who comes by every now and then when you're hitting the right mark, is it? It lets you know you're just hitting the right mark.
It's gone. It didn't let me record either. It must be. It must be because we were talking about Bigfoot. Can you start it again? Can you start what you've done? Proper glitched out. Proper glitch out. I don't know if you're... But that is how the system... My other computer's gone that runs all the back. It's just lost screen.
Huh.
I think we're close. I generally think we're close to, a form of something here. I think with what Mickey is saying, when we look at the Bible, there's around 2,500 prophecies and around 2,000 have come to fruition today.
It's not exactly a coincidence, really, then, is it?
No.
2,000 out of 2,500. Blimey. No,
yeah,
right, yeah.
So I've what's just gone on that screen, and to be fair, I don't quite know how I'm going to get us offline. I don't. It's going again.
I mean, honestly, I thought the way your face went in, Russo, I thought something was manifesting in front of you. I thought, this is good. Just on the cusp of the paranormal show coming in next week.
Well, to be fair, I have not got a clue how I'm going to get us off air. I have not got a clue. I really don't. I'm recording it because I know. I'm sorry, guys. I know that people are thinking, well, what am I listening to here? If this is Richard that's doing this to let me know that we are hitting the right thing, you've got to return it to the normal screen so I can turn it off for when we go off. Don't leave me like that. But I'm going to forward you that video, Paul, so you can see what is exactly going on in front of our eyes, because this is beyond weird. We're definitely hitting a niche. We're hitting that what is right and what is wrong motion. 100%.
It's funny, yeah. Living or dead or whatever, that when you start hitting the truth, something tries to stop you.
Right, I'm hoping that you should have that.
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, yeah. That's
BC's loving this actually. They don't want us off air because we are they don't because you know this happens. I say we normally do, you know, and to be fair, the sad thing is, right? The sad thing is that we have no backing or anything. We're just two people with 7 people listening, having a conversation. What can we physically do?
yeah.
We can't do anything. I don't mean that in a negative way, but even if us 7 as a collective, we still couldn't do anything. But it obviously hits an algorithm within something.
Yeah. They're listening to everything.
They're talking about the pyramids. They're talking about this. You know, what are they doing? Let's listen into that. You know, let's see what they think. You know, and if they think we're getting, you know, just take it off air, or you know, or it could be literally someone like Richard that is, it could be. To be fair, I'm only using our Facebook and YouTube followers. I'm not listening. I don't know the figures anymore for Pulse Talk Radio for obvious reasons. So, yeah, I generally don't know. But what has just gone on there is, I wonder if I can airdrop that for people to see. I must be able to, mustn't I? I must be able to show everybody what they've just witnessed. Let's see if I can do it. And has it come in? Brilliant. Hold on. Hold the back page because you might actually see what is going on here. I might be able to doing it again. It's like binary code.
The Matrix.
It is like binary code. I want downloads, don't I? Recent. I've got to get rid of that. Where's my downloads then? Downloads. Where's it gone? If it ain't in here, then I know that they're definitely on the. That's weird. It's now gone missing. How bizarre. It was just there just a minute ago. It was just there. Oh, that's crazy. That is crazy. It was just there just seconds ago. But where would it have gone? Sorry, I know it's a bit of a discombobulated show, but I really want to show you what's just gone on. Can I go in order of recent? Newest? Date added. Right. No, I can't add it. Because I think it's a movie, not a JPEG. That's a shame. Has to be a JPEG, an MP4. But then, can I share the screen and play it that way? Can I bypass that? Hold on, bear with me, guys. I know it's a bit discombobulated, but you know what? If you can just see what I've just seen, we might be right. Hold on. Not now. Get rid of that. Share screen. Share screen. Share screen. No, it won't let me do that either.
Something going on there, mate.
Open. Hold on. Let me try something.
You keep freezing out as well at the moment on my screen.
Oh, I can definitely.
Oh no, that's just me. He's gone. That's not pretty. But then he's not freezing out on Facebook. Or is it? Or is he? There is a delay, isn't there? Well, I can't come off here. He's got the main computer. So I don't know what's going to happen there. Oh, no. He's back.
I'm back. Yeah,
What happened there?
I don't think I should have pressed that button. I don't think. But I think I think I've got what I wanted to do. So, but I'm hoping. Can you see that?
Yes.
Right. This is what, guys. This is what's just happened to the broadcasting computer. I'm recording it because I know. I'm sorry, guys. I know that people are thinking, well, what am I listening to here? If this is Richard that's doing this to let me know that we are hitting the right thing. You've got to return it to the normal screen so I can turn it off for when we go off. Don't leave me like that. That's what was happening. That was literally happening, and it's still doing it, but now it's using the icons. I don't know how I'm going to get off air on Pulse Talk. Well, I have to worry about that in 15 minutes' time. But,
yeah.
We're obviously hitting some form of algorithm that is people are hearing. Not saying it's in a negative way. It's just they might just be listening to sort of see what we're saying. And, they can listen all they want because we haven't got any bloody clout. You know what I mean? I haven't, there's people on YouTube that have got thousands, 30,000 watchers at a time. We ain't.
No, we haven't. But I do get why they do it if that's what's going on. It could be a coincidence. Not that I really believe in coincidences, but it only takes one person to agree with what you're saying that's watched the clip of this, that's got over 1 million views, and then repost this.
Yeah.
Or something, and so I think that's how the system works. Because once it's online, it's online.
Yeah, I just think it's really weird. And obviously the pyramids thing is, quite hot off the press. It's quite a new thing, and I think it is giving us that invitation into changing the prospect of how we go forward.
It's changed the prospect of how to go forward, but it's also changed the complete history as well. And excuse me, it makes me laugh that news as big as this, to me, this is massive. This is worldwide knowledge news, and I haven't seen a single thing on mainstream media or, I don't get it. You brush across the news. What was it on there earlier when I walked past? Sort of talking about a hawk that's been terrorising people in a town. And you got news like this. It's
exactly, Heidi. Really interesting.
Yeah.
Fantastic. It is a really deep subject. Yeah, I like the way that hawk thing though, because then they've said they're going to put it down, and everyone signed a petition not to put it down, haven't they?
Yeah.
They're never going to win, are they? Poor things. But it's one thing, you know, we are coming towards the end of the show, guys. So we'll start sort of rounding up and doing what we do. But one thing I will say, and just like everything else that we touch here, what is the best way to stop people digging and finding out about what the true belief is in the pyramids?
Well, at the end of the day, I was going to say, surely that would come under the Egyptian government, but don't NASA own the inside of the pyramids?
I don't know who owned. If NASA own the inside of the pyramids, then we are on 100% on the right track. But I'm talking about along the lines of how to stop the normal everyday people wanting to do more against the pyramids.
I think there's so I can't see how.
Well, they've done it. They've done it. It's already been done. Folklore. Scaremong the masses. You can't go into a pyramid. If you open up that tomb, you are going to be hexed for the rest of your life. You know, look at the story around Tutankhamun or whatever it was. How many people so-called died, you know, when they're digging up the tomb. Well, look at the real history. No one actually died the day after. It was like 4 weeks down the line or something like that. And, you know, we're talking about quite a while ago when they probably wouldn't have had face masks on, all that sand, all that concrete going into their chests, you know. You know, so fear them. Don't, you know, because people will fear it. Doesn't matter, you know, people don't want bad luck. If there's an inkling, an ounce of bad luck, or you're going to die, you go in that tomb, you'll be the first one to get that coffin out, or that sarcophagus, you're going to die. It's bad luck to open a you know, get any further down there.
And let's be honest, if it's on mainstream media and they're talked about that, to me, I'd question it. You know, I know going completely off topic here, but with mainstream media, again, I've just called it on the news earlier about the wildfires in Dorset. And they're saying, oh, yeah, well, you know, climate change and the extreme temperature we've had. It started at midnight yesterday. And I thought, so then it wasn't.
One of us is glitching out. I think it might be Paul.
You don't.
Be me.
What happened there?
You back?
I'm back. Are you back?
Yeah. You glitched out on me, so
yeah, you glitched out on me.
So, hey ho, welcome to the world of Journey Through the Unexplained. Let's just.
But anyway, that's where I was getting. The fear factor.
Yeah,
it's
100%.
If it's pushed on mainstream, it's bullshit. Basically, sorry.
It's all right. Night, Mickey. Stay safe. See you soon. Hopefully, see you next week.
Take care, mate.
Happens quite a lot to Harrison Ford. Exactly. You think that film alone is enough to set the seed for people. Go into the pyramids. What danger you get? What danger you get? What danger you get? Do you know what I mean? It's all there for you to see. Fear it. Don't go into the pyramids. You know, it's bad juju. Why? Because they don't need you finding out what's below that bloody pyramid. What it's really for.
I mean, can you honestly say, after all these thousands of years and things have been sat there, that no one's actually tried to dig under them to see how deep the foundation goes? Well, not one person?
You would think so.
Which is why they've tried to cover it up.
Yeah.
Someone would have known.
I think it's been covered up with sand.
Yeah.
In my personal belief, I think it's been covered up with sand. You know, just to stop that thing. But, you know, until we die, I don't think we can find the honest truth. It's just very, very weird. Very, very weird. Very strange. And if any of this is true, which I'm a strong believer it is, then it does change a whole, and it's almost too late to now release the truth, isn't it? It has to be. You know, I don't know how you'd back yourself out of that.
Well, I mean, they if they want to come out of it, they could say that nothing was released until they knew for definite. Further investigations had to take place. There's ways around it, but even if they do find out exactly what they are and what they're for, I still don't think they'll release it.
But we know that, you know, all these people are going to get their self taken. You know, none of this will be on mainstream media. We know that. We know that because obviously that gives all the sheep the ability. If it's on BBC, it's the truth. It's the truth if it's on BBC. So it'd never make the BBC news because everyone would believe it, and then that's the trouble, isn't it? So yeah, I do think there's a lot more to it. I really do think there is a hell of a lot more to it than we realise, massively. So on that bombshell, as Jeremy Clarkson would say, we've come towards the end of the show. We haven't really. We did have a few things that we did want to talk to, so we'll save them for the next coming weeks. The return of the astronauts that come back from, and one thing that I couldn't remember who it was and who brought them back and how very much CGI it looked, but I don't know if it's just because of our brains and how it works. Do you know what I mean? And what we was looking for. I have to try and stay in a mindset with that. Do you know what I mean? When I was watching it live and seeing them come down, I'm thinking, this doesn't look right. The picture just doesn't look right.
It really didn't, did it?
We've got a crystal
the best
clear
video I saw was as they took her out the capsule, because she could barely move now she's got gravity. But if you look behind her, when you can see a pair of arms, naked arms, like as in no spacesuit on, help guide her out of the capsule. Well, who was that? She's just come out from space.
But someone went in there at the beginning to help him out. I watched it live.
I did not see that.
Yeah, I watched it live.
Because this guy had bare arms.
Yeah, he had a t-shirt on, and he had a t-shirt on with he had a backpack on. They opened the capsule up because it had to decompressurize, and he had a t-shirt on with like a thing over his arm, like a backpack, and he went straight in there, and he was the one that helped him out from inside. So I can confirm that. But that was the thing that got me, because we had a most amazing picture, crystal clear picture of the thing landing from whatever camera that was, and then they put them on the boat, and it was the worst camera you've ever seen, and you couldn't work out what they were doing.
This is what I'm talking about, mate.
And it just didn't make any sense. No sense whatsoever.
Nothing was allowed in the area, not even the boats, in case anything. But that camera was there waiting.
But where was it coming from? What was it? Where was it filming from? Because they had the jet skis coming from a mile off.
Yeah.
And I was like, it looked like it was just on a pole. I'm assuming it was a drone. If you were using it, it would have been some form of drone that was around. But
which we really wouldn't want too close to it, really, would you? Because it's
crazy. But look, that's another tonight. We'll talk about that in the forthcoming future. All right, so we'll save that for our forthcoming future. So, guys, thank you ever so much for our first back in a couple of weeks. I know it's been a bit discombobulated, a bit here and a bit there, but you know what? We had to get used to ourselves again. We had to get things off our chest. So it will be more. I know it will be more structured next week, because we will actually have a topic. It'll be more, not as in your face. It'll be three blokes chatting about the paranormal and a topic. So, and it'll be nice to have a structure for everybody. So next week, this page, Journey Through the Unknowns page, will be the EGH Paranormal Talk Show. Then reverts back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But we'll always be live on both channels, so you can come and join us whenever you choose. All right. So from me, take care. I can't play anything out. I can't even get us off the air on Pulse Talk, which is a bit concerning. But I will try. So for everybody, stay safe, take care, and I'll see you all soon.
Bye-bye.
You're still with us. Thank you for everyone that has joined us over on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you so much, and I'll see everybody next week.